alumni, Albert Tang. And yeah, my name is Jamie Zhao.
And I'm Celine Chan. And me and Jamie are your winter external affairs interns. So we're very excited that you guys are all here to attend our first speaker event hosted together.
Yes, yeah. So whenever you're ready. So here's a really quick rundown of the agenda tonight. So we'll just be introducing Albert, of course, and then we'll be moving to a fireside chat. We'll just be asking Albert some questions just for around 30 minutes, and then we'll open the room to open discussion with our fellow MAISS members or attendees for another 20. Yeah, so before Albert introduces himself, I'm just going to give a really brief preview. So Albert is a product manager of mobile apps at Albertsons, and take it off, Albert, whenever you want to go.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. Did you guys want me to give a quick intro?
Yeah, we'd just like for you to introduce yourself by mentioning your name, your role, your company's name and team, and your favorite thing about UCI.
Okay. So I guess a lot of it's already on the slide. So team I work on in particular within mobile is shopper experience. So I guess we're kind of focused on kind of the client side of the mobile app. So kind of how people in the store or people who are ordering delivery or pickup kind of interact with the app. So all the front end elements there. Favorite thing about UCI, probably the park. Yeah, I think I didn't utilize it enough when I was there, but every time I go back, I think I like just chilling in the park.
Yeah. So I guess we can move on to the next question, but I'm kind of curious about what your day-to-day work life looks like. And then I guess in other words, could you walk us through maybe a typical like day at work?
Sorry. Yeah, day to day, I feel like it's probably different for different product managers, but I guess for me on a day-to-day basis, it kind of, I guess it varies too. I guess there's a lot of meetings. I think that comes with the territory of being a product manager. So maybe that's like 45 to 50% of my day just being in meetings, whether it's like we're doing like sprint grooming with engineering teams and trying to understand kind of what our next sprints are going to look like and what we're going to be building. And then, other meetings are going to be like status updates with our program managers who are kind of coordinating our timelines and our schedules. And also, yeah, I'm like working with the UX team. So we might have like, reviews of like things they're building up or mocking up and kind of, how things are going there. So I think as a product manager, yeah, you're just working with so many stakeholders that you get pulled into a lot of meetings for better or for worse on different projects and initiatives that you're working on. So I would say that's most of the time. And then I guess in the free time that I do have to work on my own things, it's just like strategizing a little bit in terms of like what I want to be doing in future sprints and kind of what aligns to like the goals and objectives we have in our org. But yeah, that's at a high level. Yep.
Okay, yeah, thanks for sharing. I think that was a very detailed run through. Our next question is, what is the most challenging and favorite part of your role?
Okay, I took quick notes. So if I ever look on the right here, because I just, want to refer to something if I'm confused. But yeah, challenging for sure. I don't know how familiar everyone is with product, by the way, but I guess are people like well aware of it now? Because I know when I was going to school at UCI, which isn't that long ago, but it wasn't really like a super well-known thing.
I think product is honestly a pretty big profession that a lot of people in the business like community like actually want to go into. But like, if you would love to elaborate, please.
Oh no, it's all good. Yeah. No, I think I've seen it get like, it was getting really competitive right when I like got it. So I graduated in 2019. I don't know if that's a long time to y'all or not. But yeah, back then like there was like I didn't know anybody at UCI that was trying to get into product really. So I was kind of on my own road. But like when I went to do like recruiting and stuff, like I could tell it was like becoming as big as consulting, at least in other like top schools and stuff. So it sounds like it's becoming a thing here too. Okay. Most challenging thing, sorry, go back to your question. I think it's the idea that, as the product manager, I think it gets glorified a lot that, oh, you're the CEO of the product and you're kind of managing and running it. But I really think you're more like the coach of the product or the team, like you are leading, but you don't have you don't have authority over the people that you're working with. You're kind of leading with influence and by example. And I think that sometimes there's kind of, at least for me when I started, I think that was challenging just because, you walk in and you're like 22 years old, and then like everyone on your team is like, 40 or older, and like all these engineers, and you're supposed to kind of drive and tell them what to do and why we're doing it and stuff. And I think that part's a little challenging in getting that respect from your peers as well. I think it depends on the environment that you get put into and stuff, and how your manager sets you up. But yeah, I think that's something that's challenging.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I feel like that's always like definitely a struggle in the workplace to kind of find like respect in a lot of places. But yeah, so I'm kind of curious, like with your time at UCI, how did you kind of figure out that product management was the career that you wanted to pursue after graduating? Or I guess during your time at UCI?
Yeah. So honestly, I didn't know anything about product like my first couple years in college. And then I was actually I guess I graduated business major, but I started as a business major. So I think for me, like long story short, I think I tried a bunch of different internships and a lot of different in my classes. I was kind of finding things boring on the business side of things, but then I kind of got interested in like, the school of like I think ICS. And I started taking classes there. I took on a double major and just like doing competitions with my friends and stuff. And it was like, this stuff's like a lot more interesting. So then at that point, I started looking or talking to people like alumni in my fraternity in terms of like, it sounded like there's two things that kind of fit me, was like maybe like project management or product management. And at that point, I didn't know the difference. But I think just talking to people, it sounded like product was really interesting. So I started recruiting for that my third year. Yeah. And then I got lucky enough to get an internship. And then I think I remember I wrote a Medium article about it, but like it was like funny just because, all my other internships before I kind of dreaded going to, even though, obviously they were paid internships. So that was good. I hope they don't have unpaid internships anymore. But like I just dreaded going, and like I would always be like looking at the clock and like, when am I going to clock out? But I think for my first product internship, I felt like it was a total like 180 in terms of like really enjoying what I was doing and like feeling empowered and kind of impassioned and like what I was working on and stuff. So I think like, yeah, after I tried it for the first time in a professional setting, I knew for sure that that's something I wanted to continue doing.
Right. Thanks for sharing. I'm really glad that you found the field that you felt was right for you. I know a lot of people go into college like not really knowing what they want to do, and especially since product is kind of a newer field, they don't really know what it is. So similar to you, I think a lot of MAISS members are also looking into product and trying to, figure out if it's right for them. So my next question would be, what kinds of skills are the most valuable within product management?
Let me see what I wrote for this. That's a good question. I think, honestly, I feel like as a product manager, sometimes you are a jack of all trades almost, which can be seen as a pro and a con, where you're kind of a generalist and you're not really specialized in any one thing. Like you should probably know how to code at least to a certain extent and be able to talk to your engineers. And at the same time, I feel like it's nice for you to understand how to like design and prototype, just so that you can kind of empathize more with your designers and kind of understand how long things are going to take on a quick basis. But I think at a high level, I think the part that gets overlooked a lot is I think the interpersonal skills, because like I mentioned before, like you're leading by influence. You don't really like, you're a manager, but you don't manage anybody, so like you really got to have strong interpersonal skills and be able to like communicate well, and then also like build strong relationships with everyone on your team and kind of earn their respect and kind of show that you know what you're talking about and stuff.
Yeah, no, I feel like that makes a lot of sense. There's a question in the comments, so I'll just read it out. But it says, "Hi Albert, could you define the difference between product management and project management?" I guess.
Cool. Yeah. I think the easiest way I've had it explained to me is just as a product manager, you are defining the what and the why. So what are we building and why we're building it? And I think as a project manager or program manager, I feel like you're defining the how and the when. How are we going to build it? Or you're kind of helping the team, in the discussion of how we're going to build it. And at the same time, you're mainly focused on like when are we going to build it and how quickly are we going to build it and what's the timeline for that and stuff. So you're not thinking, I guess, as strategically, but you're just looking at, when can we kind of get things done and how we're going to get it done. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess it's interesting how like you were able to choose between the two and like kind of figure out which one you were more passionate about. But I guess like other than like the skill set, what do you think would be the best resource for people who want to dive in deeper into the industry of product management?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I'm just looking what I wrote here. I feel like nowadays, like there's just so much out there. I think if there's something that you want to learn, it's like super, super easy. At least, like you could just Google it. And I think there's just so many resources online. Obviously, there's like a cracking the PM book. And I feel like that was like the holy grail, at least when I was coming into product. I don't know how it is now. But like, and then I feel like at the same time, there's like a lot of strong product people who are like kind of like, I don't know what to call them. Like they're like influencers almost like on Twitter, and like some people have like newsletters and stuff, or like people who, write books or write short articles like Marty Kagan and stuff. Like I feel like there's just so many resources out there that, there's like a lot of strong product managers out there. And I feel like, yeah, there's just like so much information about it. I feel like even when I was trying into, there was like almost too much information to read it up on. So I feel like, yeah, just use the internet to your advantage and kind of look at resources.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for sharing. That was some really good advice. My next question is, with your time spent at Western Digital, how do you think your experiences aided you into your current role with Albertsons?
Good question. I think so. Western Digital was my first job out of college, and it's also where I did my first product internship. But when I came back after my internship, my team changed a lot. So I think being at WD, I got a good feel of kind of what it's like to be in the workplace is kind of like lowest on the rung, kind of where you're like, there's a lot of movement. There's like org changes. Sometimes like you switch managers, which is what happened to me, or sometimes you switch from like the business side of the org to engineering side of the org. Just a lot of movement. But I think something that was cool there is that I think Western Digital is seen as like let's just call them like a boomer tech company. Like they're just like an older tech company, right? So I think in that sense, we didn't have a lot of, as many like software engineers, and we weren't as focused on like building the software applications in our company. So with that being said, because we had less resources, since I did work on that side of the house, like I was able to have like a little bit more responsibility and ownership, where I think, from other PMs I've talked to who like do things out of college and they do like those kind of prestigious APM programs, I feel like they own a really small piece of the pie, like maybe like one flow or like, a couple screens. But for me, like I was owning like the complete app end to end, like all the flows. So in a sense, like there's pros and cons, I think, to it. But I think for me, it was good just to like be able to dip my feet in like everything where like, we didn't have a lot of design resources. So sometimes I would act as a designer on the team. Sometimes we needed, translations because, we were adding a new screen to the app and like our app served like 20 languages. So I would like go out and get the languages. So I kind of molded to fit the team. And like, I kind of was there to, fill in the gaps for the team. So in a sense that was cool. But I think, yeah, over time I realized that I wanted to see like the other flavors of product that I've heard about before. So that's kind of what sparked the move.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that you're relating it to like flavors. But I think it's really cool that you're able to kind of like explore more and like how much you did for Western and how that kind of translated into your time at Albertsons and try every flavor of the rainbow. I feel that. So I guess like furthermore, kind of what inspired you to work a more technical role within Albertsons, which might not be seen as like a quote unquote like stereotypically like tech company, right?
Yeah, good question. I mean, like I'll keep it a buck with you guys. Like for like when I was looking for a new job, I had two offers. So one of them was at like was at Albertsons, or maybe you guys might actually no, there isn't Albertsons right next to campus, but like yeah, we own like Safeway, Vons, like I think those are the main ones in California. And then I also got an offer from like a B2B company, but then I really realized like I don't know, for myself personally, it's nice to be able to like see the impact of what you're doing. that's something I kind of miss when I was at Western Digital too, is like, I was working on software apps and it's something I could like use on my own phone, but it wasn't really applicable to me because like I wasn't really storing my photos on a physical device. I'm sure like most of y'all like use iCloud or like Google Photos and whatnot. And like I was doing the same. So it wasn't super relatable. But I think like, for me, I've always grown up like going to like Safeway or like Albertsons and stuff. So it felt like really relatable. Like, I'm building a product that like I would like personally use, or like my, my parents would think about using. So I think like that kind of end user impact like is a little bit more noticeable when you work at a B2C company rather than a B2B company. So that's kind of why I wanted to work at Albertsons.
Okay, yeah, thanks for sharing. My next question is, when you were a student at UC Irvine, you experienced a wide variety of different involvements and internships, like, many of us have. How have those experiences helped you personally and professionally?
Yeah, I think like for me, like I just tried a bunch of different things in college. I think that helped me kind of figure out the things I do like and don't like. Because I feel like, at least for some people I know, sometimes they just struggle. It's like hard to decide like which step is the right step to take. But I feel like once you take a step in any direction, at least like, if like you get feedback immediately in terms of like, is this something I like or don't like? I think it's better than just like not taking a step at all. So that's kind of, I guess, how I was approaching it in college. So like I was doing things in like different parts of campus. Like I always viewed MAISS as something different, completely different to like other stuff I was doing on campus, just because like I feel like that, at least when I was there, the community of people I would meet there was like super different than I would meet like in other orgs. So I thought that was interesting and kind of kept like a different perspective on like, people I could be meeting and whatnot.
It's really cool. I think it's like interesting that you kind of see it like MAISS is something different from other business orgs. But yeah, so I guess like you said you were a BA major, right? So like many other Mirage students, you did a minor along with your BA major. So like what was the decision behind minoring in informatics? And do you think it actually helped you like dip your foot into tech?
Yeah, no, it definitely helped for sure. Like I don't, how do I word it? Like when I first got interested in tech, at least at the time when I was at UCI, like ICS was like really impacted. Is that the right word? Impacted. Like it was just hard to get classes and stuff. So from talking to like people older than me, it sounded like it'd be a lot easier if I got a double major so that I could get priority in classes. So I did like CC classes, or I think after my first year, so that I could qualify to be informatics major. So I was a double major for most of college. Just at the back end, I decided I'd rather study abroad than stay a fifth year or finish the major. So I was like, whatever, like I already have my offer. So I was like, I already got my foot in the door. So I felt like it was fine. But yeah, no, informatics was super helpful. Like my business classes were like, I don't know, like not to speak bad about them or anything, but like the informatics classes or the classes I took in ICS, I think were a lot more helpful in kind of steering my career and like where I wanted to go, and like doing projects in those classes and working with people there. I feel like I learned a lot more applicable stuff to my job today. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for sharing. Because I'm personally am thinking of, I don't know, like minoring in either informatics or digital information systems. And I really feel like classes in the ICS school in Bren will help me get my foot into tech and, provide me some more technical skills that I currently lack. So my next question is, like you mentioned, I also noticed that you've spent time studying abroad in Madrid and Rome. What did you take away from your study abroad experience, and how do you apply it to your work today?
First, I hope y'all can like study abroad. I know there's like, a lot of stuff going around the world right now, but like, yeah, I hope you guys can. I think for like, I kind of took it like my study abroad was kind of like I don't know, like a going away trip almost. Like I did in my last quarter of college. So like instead of doing my like last spring quarter at UCI, I studied abroad instead. So from like a professional aspect, I guess I wouldn't say I learned much, but I think just studying abroad or going abroad and meeting different people, I think it, just grows you as a person. And I think, like, I guess it goes back to the product thing where, like, I think if you know how to better connect with people and, like, you met people from different cultural backgrounds, I think that helps, once I started in the workforce, and, like, it's a talking point, but then also just having a better perspective on the world and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I've always wanted to study abroad, so fingers crossed I am able to do it one day. But yeah, so kind of like, I guess, like moving back to MAISS, like as a past co-VP of mentorship, which is actually now called community development, how do you think MAISS has helped you throughout your time at UCI and also furthered your career?
Cool. Oh, you guys still have mentorship. Okay. Yeah, sorry. What was the back end of your question? Sorry.
It was like, how has MAISS helped you throughout your time at UCI and also furthered your career?
At UCI, I think for me it was cool. At least the club, I don't know how big or small the club is now, but at least when I joined my first year as a mentee, the club was really small, and, like, the mentorship program was, like, I think was I in the guinea pig year? I think I was. It was like the first year of it running, and I personally saw a lot of things I thought could get better, so I took on a board position or whatever my second year, just because I think looking back on it now, I realized, like, I had a keen interest in, like, building culture, and I think that's something that it kind of spills over to my work today in terms of, like, leading by influence and trying to empower the people that I work with and make them, like, feel like the work that they're doing is important, but also, like, encourage and kind of praise them when they do good stuff as well. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thanks for sharing. I'm currently a MAISS mentee, and yeah, I also feel the same. I feel like MAISS has, like, helped me in a way where it's like I was really involved in trying to help build this sense of community, because MAISS is one of the more supportive organizations I've been involved in. And as a mentee, I was able to learn a lot from my mentor and everybody around me. I was able to, like, I guess, explore different career paths and develop myself professionally. So yeah, like, I can relate to that. And I think a lot of us, like, really find this sense of community in MAISS and want to continue, bringing it up. So my last question for you is there any advice you would like to give our MAISS members who want to break into the tech industry?
Any advice? Okay, let's hope I wrote something, because something's coming on top of my head. Break into the tech industry. Yeah, I think, like, it's a cliche, but, like, networking is really important. I mean, that's, like, not that it's the name of the game. It kind of is. I feel like, I think you really should be, like, kind of how, like, you're a mentee right now and you're learning a lot from your mentor. I feel like the same thing goes for networking when you network with people who are older with you or in the places that you want to be. And, even if, like, 9 to 10 of them don't respond to you, like, the one that does, like, that could like change your perspective on how you're applying to jobs or how you're approaching things in the industry. So I think, like, that's huge for sure. Just, like, networking and reaching out to people in, like, the places that you want to be at or you're interested in and stuff. But yeah, I think that's like the main point I would give.
Okay, yeah, thanks for sharing. So I guess this is the end of our interview questions. We're going to now move on to our Q&A session. So basically anybody can just unmute or raise their hand and ask any your dying questions. So ask away.
Omar?
Yeah. Hi, Albert. Thanks for a lot of your talking points. I found it really interesting. But this is kind of more related to your study abroad experience, actually. So I'm a third year, and the only time that I could study abroad would be, like, spring quarter next year, so same time you did. I was wondering if you ever, like, regret almost, like, spending your last quarter abroad, or do you, like, ever feel FOMO from it, or do you think it was, like, the right thing to do?
Good question. Good question. I was worried about that beforehand too. I think I was thinking about which quarter I wanted to study abroad. I think I was thinking between winter or spring, or kind of just, doing both of those. and just like being gone for both. But the programs that I want to do were all in spring. But to answer your question succinctly, honestly, I've never thought about that because I had such a great experience studying abroad. Like I feel like, yeah, I made like the best decision possible. I like never thought twice about it just because like, especially with like everything that's happened in the world the past couple of years, like it's not an experience I could have ever gotten at any other point in my life. And like it was like at a point when things were pretty carefree, where like I pretty much finished all my required coursework. All I had was like one like GE requirement left. So I was like kind of very carefree, like almost like I was on vacation because like the coursework didn't matter too much and I was just out there having fun and traveling. So yeah, no regrets at all. So if you have the opportunity, I would definitely recommend.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, Albert. My question's related to study abroad too, because I just like hearing about what people, or just freaking steal my question. But no, I like hearing about people's experiences, like what their best takeaways are, like living in a new country, like learning a lot about the culture. So what was like your favorite memory from your study abroad experience?
Favorite memory. I don't know if there's one particular one, but I feel like for me, it was just like the like idea that like pretty much every weekend I would be traveling to like a different country and like out there, like I think in the US, it feels like things are like far away. Like if you went from like LA to New York, it's a pretty long flight, but like everything in Europe is like pretty close together. Like you could fly from one country to the other and it's like the same distance as flying from like SF to LA. And then some flights are just so cheap. It's like, you know, like $40 one way, or I forget the prices. But yeah, I think that was the most enjoyable thing. Just like kind of like that, you know, every week I just be, you know, on whatever flight searching app and be like, okay, where am I going to go to this week? Like what looks interesting, or like what has a good deal? I feel like that was like the most exciting part. Just like, because beforehand I didn't really plan like all the weekend trips I was going to do. I kind of just went with the flow in terms of like where prices were good and things that looked interesting to me.
Well, thank you. I love like the spontaneity of it all. But yeah, thank you for sharing.
I just had a question, like this is not like about study abroad, but I'm kind of curious, like, do you need a lot of creativity to be in product? I guess like specifically in your position?
It's a good question. Creativity in like what sense? Just in general?
Just in general, I guess.
I wouldn't say it's like required or anything. You don't have to be like a super creative person, I would say. I guess more of it is strategic, but I guess in terms of like, I guess you're also responsible for kind of deciding what you're working on. And that might sound like a creative thing to do, but I feel like a lot of it comes from being really analytical in terms of like, you know, let's say you want to improve like, I don't know, like traffic to like the homepage of the site. But then at that point, it's very analytical approach of looking at like, here are the KPIs that we're tracking for homepage, and we want to grow those. Like, what are some ways we can go about growing those? And then you kind of have brainstorm sessions with your, you know, UX partners and stakeholders. And I think once you become like very entrenched in the industry and you're following kind of what other people are doing, it's not like you're coming up with like a game-changing idea, like where it's like super revolutionary. So I wouldn't say you have to be super creative. I think being like more analytical and strategic thinking is probably more important or more valuable.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I also wanted to ask, because I noticed on your LinkedIn that you had like, I think like 4 certifications listed. So how did you go about getting them, and do you find them to be very helpful in your position today?
Honestly, I'm not even quite sure what are the certifications again? Sorry, I haven't looked at my LinkedIn in a while.
Your LinkedIn. I think you have 2 from like a Stanford program. I'm gonna pull up your LinkedIn right now.
Okay. Oh, I think I kind of know what you're referring to. I think there's like 2 like Udemy courses I took there too. Is that kind of what's there?
Yes.
I don't know. That was just like things I did. I think the 2 Stanford ones were things I did at my internship. So like it was like a required thing that I did when I was at my internship. Like we had a couple workshops, so I threw those in. And then the Udemy courses, I guess that goes back into like what I was saying about there being so many online resources online for kind of, learning about what you're interested in. So like, you know, Udemy, some of the courses $12 and there's like 60 hours of coursework in there. So like, I think I signed up for a couple of those. And yeah, I finished a few, but I'm sure they were helpful and they complemented all the other learning I was doing, but it wasn't like a standalone thing that like helped me get somewhere.
Got it. Thanks for sharing.
Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, because I noticed like a lot of programs, it's like not like they require, but they provide these resources for you to get certified or like take these certain courses. And yeah.
Doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt at all.
Yeah. Yeah, Hans, you can go ahead.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Albert. I find your Q&A session have been really informative, but I would like to ask, how does like informatic minors help you with the position and the job that you are doing today?
Yeah, good question. I felt like when I was looking through the ICS coursework that like, it felt like, I guess back then I didn't know I was getting into product, I guess to start off with, but like I took like ICS 33. I think I failed it the first time I took it. And I was like, okay, I'm not like built for this programming business and stuff. So I was like, okay, that's not the track I'm going to go into. But just like I forget what the informatics class was, but like it was really interesting to me. And I think the way they describe informatics as almost like, you know, how humans interact with technology. So not only from like a programming standpoint, but also like a design standpoint and like a data visualization standpoint. I thought that was like more interesting to me. And there was some coursework in there that like definitely like project work that I put on my resume directly and a few other things. But yeah, I think the breadth and coursework that they had in informatics and just touching upon different things. Like I remember I took a class where we were using Tableau. That was like useful. And I took a class where I was working with people like on a project where like, you know, some people were using like InVision and Sketch and like, you know, I was just like learning a bunch of different things that like in my business classes, I wasn't necessarily learning. But so I think, yeah, the breadth was super helpful because I think if I was just like a CS double major, I would have just been taking like a bunch of programming classes, data structure classes, algorithm classes, and like that wouldn't be super helpful if you're trying to get into product right out of college. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I think you mentioned a lot about like a lot of the things that you did in college to sort of help you set up your career for, I guess, PM and like beyond. Do you have like any advice, like sort of general advice for any, I guess it's kind of late for me, but for like any first or second years, like what clubs to get involved in and stuff like that, just to help them on their like professional career?
Nah, it's never too late. Like it's never too late. But I guess this is really general, but I feel like sometimes at least when I look back at college, like sometimes like my balance wasn't always kind of even in terms of like, I think when I first came to college, I was actually really eager to like do really well academically and like get involved with a bunch of stuff. But I think there needs to become a balance of like you having like fun in college and joining things that are fun for you, but at the same time, like balancing that with like trying to figure out what you want to do in the future. I think like having a balance there is important. And I think, yeah, like in your, you know, first couple of years, I think definitely you can like lean a lot more into like focusing on stuff that is like fun for you. And then like later on, maybe the focus will be a little heavier in terms of like figuring out what you want to do. But I think having that balance is important. And I think I kind of did that with some of my orgs where like, so MAISS was like the only business org that I was pretty much involved with after my first year. I did like a consulting org my first year, but that was like, again, like it was just like way too much for me as a first year to like, it was just like more work on top of like the units I was already taking. So MAISS was like the really only professional org I was into until I joined my business fraternity like later on. So I think like, and yeah, and the times that I was in MAISS, I was in like other like, you know, cultural clubs or like ASUCI, like that kind of stuff, like where I was doing things that were like more fun and more social. So I think having that balance is important.
I think there's a question from Ryan, but he said, "Hi, Albert, do you ever deal with burnout as a full-time PM?" And then do you ever miss college where you had an end to your summer internship knowing you'd come back to school after it?
First, first question, burnout. I guess like, I don't know if it was from being a PM or working full time, but I think like, yeah, the whole work from home adjustment initially was like, I guess caused a little bit of burnout just because like, at first, like I was working in my room. So I was just like sitting in my room all day, like, and it was like, I think it's important, or at least for me, at least mentally, like to be working in a different place than where I like have fun and like go on the internet and watch YouTube and stuff. So I think that separation was hard. But I think for me personally, like, I guess I can't speak for everyone else, but that is full time. But like, I feel like I try to have like I try to be pretty strict on myself in terms of separating kind of work and my personal life, where like, you know, even if I didn't work, I guess I'm not promoting you to like work less, but like if there's days where like I only work 6 hours, but I know mentally like I'm just out of it, I already know that long term for me and my productivity, it's better if I just stop on that day and take a break so that I'm like more recharged the next day, instead of like trying to, you know, say like, oh, I need to finish this out, because like at the end of the day, like I'm not working on anything that is going to like make or change like anyone's life directly. Like it's okay if I do it, you know, I finish it on Monday instead of on Thursday. You know, it's not the end of the world if I don't ship this feature like on time, or if it's like, or whatnot. So that's kind of my approach to things in terms of not getting burnout, and kind of just like really staying in tune with your body and like what you can handle and what you can't handle. Oh, and then sorry, second question. Ever miss college or you end your summer internship? Not really. I feel like I guess like once you go at least for me, like once I went through those 4 years of college, I kind of just what is it? I guess like it's like a mental click in your mind that like, you know, that phase is over and there's like no point in like looking back and thinking about like, because now I know like, yeah, I can't go back to school, so I'm not like reminiscing about it. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, it's not something I think about.
Hi, I have another question. But yeah, kind of going back into where you're working right now at Albertsons as a PM. How would you describe like the work-life balance in your civic role right now, and then how would it compare to like your other professional experiences before then?
Work-life balance. I think right now I think for the rest of the org right now, I know it's kind of a dicey situation a little bit, just because like before, like I guess when you think of Albertsons, like you kind of asked the question forward, like not stereotypically a tech company. So when the pandemic hit and like everything was going online, like Instacart was booming and like all these other like kind of more tech focused grocery chains were doing well, or like delivery, like we didn't really have that infrastructure in place. So all the teams are like moving like hauling ass in terms of trying to get things shipped, and like, you know, we didn't even have like a unified mobile app for all of our banners. So I think people were kind of working in emergency mode in a sense. And I don't know if some people still have that mindset. Like I joined after, so like I don't feel that rush. But I think it's like something that I think leadership is trying to address in terms of, you know, getting people to feel like, you know, hey, we're not in a rush anymore. But for me personally, yeah, I feel like the work-life balance is fine, just because like I guess I have my own personal sense of of work-life balance, and like, yeah, I kind of don't let the other factors affect me too much, if that makes any sense.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Hey Albert, thanks for coming today. I was just gonna ask, like, you mentioned that you stayed, or MAISS was like one of the only professional orgs you were part of after like your first year. So I was just wondering, like, what's your favorite memory at MAISS?
Oh, good question. Favorite memory at MAISS? I feel like there was so many events that I went to and did that it's hard to recall one. I don't even know if we had retreats back. I feel like there was one. Now I'm forgetting. There's too many retreats I went to. in college, but yeah, I think just like, yeah, all the random socials that like I would help coordinate and then also go to, and just kind of, I think the satisfying part for me, at least when like, yeah, I was on board and stuff, is like when we would organize events and then I would go and there'd be a bunch of people there and I could just see people like having fun. Like, I feel like that was the satisfying part for me, just to see like, you know, like we put on all this effort, like having our like board meetings and stuff, like to organize this event, and then people come out and they're having a good time and it's like a successful event. I feel like, yeah, like those moments, I feel like were probably the most satisfying.
Yeah, definitely great to always see like good turnout when you plan your events. But thanks for sharing.
Yeah, I agree. I think the socials and the retreats were the most fun. I totally got to like bond with all the other MAISS members, and it's cool because like we all kind of, you know, share the same professional goals and stuff. So my other question, I know you mentioned that you thought, yeah, it was sort of cliche, but networking is probably the best way to kind of dip your foot into tech and get into tech. So I don't know, do you have any networking tips you want to share with us? And I also want to ask, because I noticed that you were a part of DSP in college. Do you still kind of utilize your DSP network?
Sorry, it was like a storm outside. I don't know what's going on. You were asking about, sorry, networking and then like DSP stuff.
Yeah, I was asking if you had any networking tips, because you said you think networking is like the best way to just kind of get into tech, and if you still utilize your DSP network.
I see. I don't know if I have any like networking hacks myself, but like, I guess a general rule of thumb is I feel like 95% of the time, like throwing in, like, I remember like when I was at college, I would see something on LinkedIn and be like easy apply. I'd be like, oh, this is great. Like I can just throw it in my resume. But I feel like 95% of the time, like that's not it. Like it's not going to get seen. Like I feel like every time you send an application, you need to do like at least some level of outreach, or else there's like no chance that anyone is going to read it. At least from my experience, like I think like none of the jobs that I've had, like I've just like cold applied to and like gotten it. I feel like I've had to like reach out, or I've gotten a referral of some sort, or like I talked to the recruiter beforehand and like let her know like, hey, I'm really interested and I applied. Like, so I think like just knowing that is important. And then DSP wise, yeah, I mean, I think that was big for me in college. Nowadays, I don't know if I utilize the network as much, but I guess like, yeah, if I ever wanted to move to a different company and I saw someone was working there, I'd definitely reach out. But I feel like DSP definitely helped me more like when I was in college, in terms of like I said, like I guess I didn't have to go, sometimes I didn't have to go through the stretch of like doing the cold outreach, just because there were alumni in the places that I wanted to be, and I could just, you know, message them. And then I feel like there's, yeah, I guess there's like a sense of, you know, brotherhood, where like if someone reaches out to you, you're gonna help them because someone probably did the same for you. So that was super helpful for me to get like perspectives of people who were working in the places that I wanted to be at.
I don't know if anyone has any other questions. If you guys are interested in asking, ask now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, it looks like we're getting towards the end of our speaker event. So, you know, really quickly, if anybody has any questions, unmute, raise your hand. And if not, then I think we're ready for our photo. So if you guys are off camera and are comfortable, please turn on your cameras so we can see your beautiful faces and smiles. And we're gonna have Ryan take a photo. And Ryan, if you'd like to count us down, get us ready.
I can take it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Omar.
Yeah, of
Appreciate
course.
it.
Okay. On 3. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Cool. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, perfect. So I'd like to thank you again, Albert. Thanks for coming out and doing this event with us. Thanks for answering all our questions. If you guys still have some questions that are left unanswered, feel free to connect with him on LinkedIn. I'm sure he'd be happy to do so, and send him a message. He'd be happy to answer your questions. And here are our MAISS socials. So if you haven't already, please sign up for our newsletter, follow us on Instagram and on Facebook so that you stay up to date with all our events and our socials. Jamie's going to send a feedback form in the chat. So we'd love if you guys could fill it out. It helps us improve our events. Also want to let you all know, we have an intern run social next week, week 10. It's going to be on Thursday from like 7 to 8 at Corona Del Mar. We're going to have a little bonfire. We're going to have pizza. It's going to be great. So hope to see you all there. And yeah, thanks for coming again, because it was, you know, me and Jamie's first event that we hosted together. We really appreciate the support, and you guys all are free to go. Yeah. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.